Ayan mga kaibigan, I'm very sorry sa nangyari kanina. Kitang-kita nila ako na nag-aayos. Hindi ko alam kung ano nangyari. Pero game muna tayo ulit. Let's go back sa ating banning phase. Sa ating laban sa pagitan ng Team Dethrone at Team Pacific.
Yes, so let's go. Actually, the banning phase is already done just now. And the bans coming from Team Pacific are Nidalee, Lulu, and Soraka. Team Dethrone decided to ban out Kha'Zix, Shyvana, and Morgana. First pick naman ng Pacific will be Ziggs. Of course, we'll be seeing Ziggs in the mid lane. We'll have to see what will the Team Dethrone pull out in the mid lane.
Looking at the bans, Jay, they banned Nidalee, Lulu, Soraka. Lagay na sabi mo kanina, they're most likely focused sa mid lane ng Team Pacific dito. Sa lahat din nakakalam, para sa kaliwa, we have here the Team Pacific at para sa kanan, we have here Team Dethrone. For Team Dethrone, they banned Kha'Zix, Morgana, and Shyvana. Morgana, no doubt about it, she's a champion na sobrang hirap mapigilan sa bottom lane. Sobrang naging effective niya kahit sino maging kaduo niya in the bottom lane, sobrang nahihirapan ma-counter dito ang any teams.
Yes, especially pag nag-late game, ang hirap talaga i-stop si Morgana once meron na siyang, of course, Zhonya's Hourglass. So, of course, Morgana is really a toss coin. Sometimes they do really well, sometimes they do really bad. So, of course, they don't want to risk it, so they ban out Morgana.
Para siyang dito para siyang champion na magiging semi-AP, dalawa magiging burst niyo kapag meron kayong Morgana as your support at champion. Mga kaibigan, looking at the picks, Pacific pick up Ziggs para sa kanilang first champion dito, which is a very effective mid laner in any game. Kung saan napapansin mo kahit sinong kalaban niya, kahit against Nidalee, kahit against LeBlanc, kaya-kaya makounter dito kasi napakalaki nung kanyang, the AoE o yung crowd control na kanya ibigay against his opponent is sobrang effective.
I agree with you. It's really hard to go against Ziggs. Pretty much anybody who goes against Ziggs will have a hard time beating Ziggs. Most champions we see sometimes against Ziggs is Nidalee, but they don't even win lane. They just sustain the lane basically against Ziggs. So ito naman, si Dethrone naman, they already picked up a Ryze and Nocturne. Feeling ko the Ryze might actually go top lane instead of mid lane, but who knows? Baka mag-mid lane siya against the Ziggs.
So far ngayon kasi, sa picking phase talaga nalalaman mo dito kung sino yung mga possible na picks or possible na pang counter sa bawat champions dito. So they pick up Ryze. This is a bait pick for their team na possible na gawin nilang mid or top. Depende sa kung sino kukunin ng Team Pacific dito for their team to go for the top lane or the mid lane dito. Kung saan, if ever na kumuha sila ng champion like si Renekton, Ryze can win against Renekton dito. It is a very hard counter for Renekton dito. Depende sa playstyle na gagawin nila in the top lane. Or possible na gawin nilang mid itong si Ryze. Depende kung sino kukunin ng Team Pacific dito in the laning phase. But somehow they pick up the jungler and support para mag-responde sa ganitong klaseng pick-up ng Team Dethrone dito.
Yes, looks like Team Pacific decided to pick up the Wukong and Leona. Now, Wukong, malakas siya as a top laner and in the jungle, but especially now at the 4.6 patch where Feral Flare is a very popular item pick, medyo lugi si Wukong sa ibang junglers right now. Pero of course, when it comes to team fights, Wukong is still as dominant. Si Leona naman, of course, sobrang malakas siya mag-initiate for the bottom lane and in team fights. So definitely a good pickup from Pacific on the Leona.
Yes, for the team of Dethrone, they're trying to pre-pick itong si Kayle and Sona, which is a very effective champions as well sa kanilang mga laning phase. Ito ang mahirap para sa kanilang team. Kayle can go to the top lane and she can go as well dito sa kanilang mid lane.
Actually,
possible na maging
every lane.
Both the champion dito, Ryze and Kayle can do swap lanes dito sa laban nila against team ng Pacific. And instead of getting Sona, they got Janna instead. Ito isa sa mga champion na pinakamahirap i-counter dito na bottom lane. Yung kanyang mobility as a champion, yung movement speed niya during the laning phase, at yung kanyang protectness against sa kanyang kakampi dito. I think mahirapan ng team ng Pacific in the bottom lane against Janna or kung sino man ang magiging AD carry nila na somehow hanggang ngayon hindi pa nila kinukuha.
Most likely the Janna to stop the Wukong engage to prevent the Wukong from initiating on the AD carry of Team Dethrone here. They want to protect, of course, their backline. Of course, Kayle also has some sort of protection with the intervention, but the Janna is always a good idea to keep the team of Pacific away from them. Alright, so Team Pacific now picking their last two champions right now. They're hovering over Tristana and Irelia. Both the champions, haven't been seeing much play, but they're very strong initiators and they're very good at diving in. With the composition coming from Pacific, we can see that they really want to be very aggressive in this game, and we expect them to be aggressive. Of course, they have to be a little bit careful with the Kayle countering the ganks coming or the engagements coming from Team Pacific.
Tristana actually is a champion na sobrang safe pick when it comes to the bottom lane. Kaya niyang maging super AD carry dito or kaya din niyang maging AD carry na maging play safe lamang or maging aggressive when it comes to the laning phase, depende sa kung sino yung support niya. Looking at their lineup, they have Leona para sa kanilang support role for their team dito against Ajana at kung sino man magiging AD carry ng team ng Dethrone. And medyo nag-troll sila ngayon trying to predict Sona para sa kanilang lineup dito. But yes, I think it's a Lucian for their team. Lucian can be very effective in the bottom lane, especially sa support na manggagaling kay Jana with yung shield na meron siya. Not only na meron siya shield dito, but also yung bonus damage sa kanyang champion. Na kanya magbigay ng burst damage or yung kanyang poke potential in the bottom lane.
Alright, so wait, they haven't really actually locked in Lucian. They decided to switch for Twitch. Both champions, Lucian and Twitch, are very good at kiting from a distance. And of course, with Janna's protection, he should be able to do that effectively. This time around, though, they decided to go with the Twitch. Twitch has seen a lot of success so far in professional play. We've seen BB and other Southeast Asian pro teams pick up a Twitch, and they've been very effective, like you said, on that Twitch. The simple build na ginagawa nila, of course, is the Blade of the Ruined King in conjunction with Yosmith's Ghost Blade, and those combinations alone is really powerful to shred down teams from the front line to the back line.
Actually, having Twitch as one of their lineup dito, na-upgrade yung kanyang art dito. Sobrang ganda ng Twitch ngayon. And I think mahirapan dito in the bottom lane ng team ng Pacific. Depende sa kung paano yung playstyle nila. Dethrone Twitch have invisible yung kanyang first skill dito every time but still meron siyang delay na bago siya mawala dito, kaya patayin siya kagad ng team ng Pacific in the bottom lane. Especially sa gap na mga galing dito kaya Wukong. But looking at their junglers, they have Wukong and Nocturne as well. Both at champions being kailangan nilang umabot ng level 6 para malaman natin yung effectiveness nila during the team fight. Kailangan magkaroon ng Cyclone itong si Wukong, kailangan magkaroon ng Paranoia itong si Nocturne para magkaroon sila ng effectiveness during the team fight. Yung crowd control nila na magiging effective during the team fight dito. For the lineup of Team Dethrone, they have Rise as well, na kung saan meron siyang Rune Prison, and they also have Kayle para sa intervention. They have the initiation lineup for their team, at meron din silang pang-protect if ever na pumasok ng maigi or sobrang naging deep yung pag-initiate dito ni Nocturne during the team fight.
Actually, taking a look at the masteries, this is something interesting. We see the top lanes are both picking up teleport. Yes, so they won't be expecting many kills in the lane. Most likely, most of their kills will be coming from a teleport gang in the middle lane or most likely bottom lane, which is madalas na ginagamit yung teleport sa bottom lane para after they pick up a kill, they can transition into a dragon.
Yes, let's see muna yung ating runes and masteries for Rise para sa kanilang top laner dito ng team Dethrone. Para sa kanyang runes, mga kaibigan, medyo standard lang for an AP champion, pero wala siyang AP, just like any normal Rise player dito, kung saan talagang ang focus niya dito ay yung magic penetration and yung kanyang movement speed.
Yes.
So having the 9 armor, the 4.5% movement speed, the 7.8 magic penetration, this is a very good chance for his champion na mag-succeed in the top lane during the laning phase. At syempre sa effectiveness niya, having his teleport para sa kanyang summoner spell, kaya-kaya niya mag-respond dito in any team fight. And take note mga kaibigan, for Pacific, we have on the top lane dito na si CUT. For Irelia, having the teleport summoner spell as well. Ito ang kanyang runes mga kaibigan. 9.0 attack speed, 9.0% attack speed, 27 magic resist at level 18. So scaling magic resist just like Rise runes dito.
And actually, I'm kind of surprised that most of these players are now picking scaling items now. In the previous season, flat runes were the popularity, but with the recent buffs on the runes and some nerfs of course on the rune, looks like most of the pro players are just trying to try out the scaling runes. Of course, weaker early game but much stronger late game.
So ngayon mga kaibigan, the top lane Rise against Irelia versus Rise dito, I think depende sa laning phase nila. Rise can go aggressive against his opponent kasi alam natin lahat na si Irelia ay mini champion, but take note, Irelia have a champion na a skill na pang gap closing, so she can just use that skill para makapag-initiate dito against kay Rise.
Plus she has a lot of sustain, so she can definitely out-sustain Rise at the early levels. Rise isn't that painful at the first few levels, and with the crowd control and the tankiness coming from Irelia, and of course her passive which allows her to gain tenacity, she should be easily able to bully Rise in the lane.
Yes, so in the mid lane naman we have Ziggs versus Kayle dito. Ziggs can win against a kill kapag early level. Kasi alam natin lahat na, well, yung kanyang third skill dito, or tinatawag natin na third skill ni Kayle, mas malayo yung range na meron si Ziggs dito compared to Kayle. Not only yung kanyang poke damage, yung kanyang bombs, or yung kanyang mines dito, sobrang layo ng ng reach niya compared to Kale dito, kung saan yung magamit lang ni Kale dito yung kanyang reckoning and then yung kanyang E to harass itong si Ziggs in the early team fight. So kailangan niyang umabot ng level 6 muna before he can at least gain the advantage against dito kay Ziggs in the mid lane.
Yes, alright.
And
So
syempre support for from their junglers.
that's right. So the game is now loading. So I'm looking at the loading screen and the skins are pretty awesome. So G-Spear, if we want to buy skins and wala tayong RP, ano pwede natin gawin?
Syempre Jay, since na-mention mo na dito yung ating mga skin at RP natin, if ever na wala tayong RP, gusto natin bumili ng skins or ng shells natin pero wala tayong time para lumabas ng bahay.
Yes.
Meron tayong feature from GameX mga kaibigan. Just visit epins.gamex.ph and after may visit yung site na yun, choose the game you're playing. You're playing League of Legends. Now after you choose League of Legends, choose the Garena shell denomination you want. If ever na gusto mo ng 50, 100, depende sa'yo yan, basta meron kang load.
Yes.
Ngayon napili mo na yung Garena shell denomination na gusto mo, click add to cart. After may click yung add to cart, you are about to enter your mobile number. So enter mo lang yung mobile number mo para lamang to sa Smart, TNT, and Sun Cellular subscriber.
That's right.
Ngayon, nagawa mo na yun, hintayin mo lang mag-send sa'yo ng confirmation code. After mo ma-receive yung confirmation code, send it to 3161. After mo ma-send yun, you will receive your e-pin or e-pins from GameX. So hindi
That's
yung
right.
e-pin na meron tayo, kundi e-pins from GameX. Maraming salamat GameX sa napakagandang feature.
Yeah.
At hindi na wala nang hassle para bumili ng shell dito, lumabas ng bahay. Basta meron kang load sa Smart, or sa TNT or Sun Cellular, ganun lang gagawin mo.
Yeah, so thanks to Smart and of course Garena for allowing us to have this GameX feature to buy these shells rather. And of course, thank you to Razer for being our sponsor for the PGS spring season and summer season. Alright, so the game is about to begin. We just have our mandatory pause so that the players will be able to adjust their settings before the game starts. After that, we'll be on our way. Really excited to see who will win this match because whoever wins this will be going on to face off MSI in the next round.
Yes, sa mga kakatune in pa lang mga kaibigan, you're watching the Pro Gaming Series 2014 Summer Promotion. Laban sa pagitan ng Team Dethrone at Team ng Pacific. I'm Sphere.
And I'm Jay.
Let's go na sa Summoner's Rift mga kaibigan. Eto na tayo ngayon. So for ngayon, gaya na sinabi mo kanina, we pause the game, trying to set their runes and masteries, yung kanilang settings dito in the game. So, in the early part of the game, laning phase, we have Irelia, Wukong, Ziggs, Tristana, and Leona against Ryze, Nocturne, Kayle, Twitch, and Janna. Who do you think will dominate the early laning phase dito?
Looking at the top lane, Ryze will of course have the side advantage in terms of poke, but Irelia's sustain could allow her to easily sustain with Ryze. Of course, with an early gank, which won't be very likely because Wukong is a very weak ganker at the first few levels, I feel like Ryze will probably have the upper hand. But Irelia should have no problem because, like I said, strong sustain. She'll be able to basically farm without any problems in the lane. Of course, if she's able to pull a minion aggro on Ryze once the minion gets large, then she probably might be able to, or maybe if Ryze gets a little bit too greedy and gets hit by the tower like by 1 or 2 shots, this will definitely give Irelia an advantage or a chance to dive into Ryze. Alright, so looking at the junglers, of course, so we expect both junglers to be very farm-heavy junglers. Nocturne and Wukong are basically very farming reliant, but of course Nocturne scales much better and has a slightly stronger gank pre-level 6 compared to Wukong. How about the mid lane, GG Spear? How do you feel the matchup between Ziggs and Kayle would be?
Gaya sinabi ko kanina, Ziggs versus Kayle, in the early part of the game, Ziggs have the advantage against dito kay Kayle. Pero kapag umabot ng late game, we all know how Kayle can carry the game kapag nag-late game na dito.
Yes.
Kasi having Kayle, kapag sobrang nakakuha siya ng enough AP for his champion, especially yung kanyang attack speed dito, kaya niya mag-dominate in the team fight. Yung kanyang effectiveness, meron pa siyang intervention. So for I think around 2 seconds yung kanyang intervention dito, kung saan mas niligtas niya yung any champion na i-focus fire ng Team Pacific dito. And take note mga kaibigan, isa lang ang champion na kayang intervention dito ni Kayle, kung saan possible din naman na ibang i-focus dito ng Team Pacific kapag nakita nila naka-intervention na yung champion na kanilang fin-focus that time. So ngayon,
yes,
they have Twitch as well. Twitch is a champion na hindi kailangan lumapit ng sobra kapag nagkaroon ng team fight dito. Kaya niya dumistansya lamang mga kaibigan. Nanganganib ang buhay dito ni VYY. VYY got ruined prison by Ryze dito, but with the use of his rocket jump, nakapag-disengage siya sa laban na yun.
Yeah, so an early attempt by Dethrone to do an early gank here in the bottom lane, of course. Tristana spotting out. Of course, the Rune Prison still connected with Tristana. Tristana simply jumped away. Looks like Team Pacific will now try to counter gank or counter jungle rather, team Dethrone. So let's see if they'll be able to steal the red or catch somebody here. We see Rice all alone. Looks like he might get caught here.
Dito mga kaibigan, nahuli siya ngayon ng 4 members of Team Pacific, pero still, I think somehow worth it yung ginawa nila pag-gank dito kay Rice since na-burn yung kanyang flash. And also, they're trying to steal the red buff of team ng Dethrone dito. Still, kita natin na Dethrone trying to set the red buff of team ng Pacific as well. So, if ever na magkaroon dito ng agawan ng red buff, who do you think will dominate the jungling routes dito?
Well, definitely, like I said, mas malakas talaga si Nocturne at the earlier levels compared to Wukong. Wukong has been nerfed with his Q, so his armor reduction has been reduced. Although Wukong does a really good way of clearing, he'll definitely not win a 1 versus 1v fight against Nocturne if their HP are pretty even. Looks like it will be a jungle, basically an exchange of jungling creeps right now. As you can see, the jungler of Dethrone is on the red side of Pacific, while on the other side, we have the jungler of Pacific on Dethrone's red buff. Of course, they pick up, looks like both of them did not clear the camps. Basically, they only picked up 2 minions from the red camp, leaving 1 small minion on each camp and stealing a few more minions on the Raids camp. Alright, so we're experiencing another pause in the game. I'm not really sure what is going on right now, but so far the game is not that interesting, basically, except for that early attempt. No action really going out. Everybody's able to escape with their lives. A few spells burned, but other than that, everything seems to be okay for both teams.
Yes. So for the bottom lane, Twitch against sa Tristana dito. Si Tristana habang tumatagal, mas lumalayo yung range niya with the use of, habang ina-upgrade niya yung kanyang first skill dito. And Twitch as well with the use of his ultimate skill, lalayo yung range niya if ever na i-activate niya yung kanyang skill na yun. And also yung kanyang attack speed ay may increase dito during that during the team fight. Pero ang maganda dito sa kanilang lineup, may hirapan patayin itong may hirapan ng team na Pacific na patayin dito si Twitch, especially they have Janna as their support champion dito against Leona and itong si Tristana. So alam natin lahat na itong si Janna ay isang pang-counter din kay Leona. Kasi if ever na ginamit niyo yung kanyang Zenith Blade at nag-connect to ng maayos with the use of that Monsoon or kanyang SS dito, mapipilitang mag-disengage dito ang team members of the Pacific in the bottom lane.
That's right. Actually, Leona already using the Zenith Blade and connecting to Janna. As you can see there, Janna came out on top there using her shield, and of course with the help of her AD carry, they're able to lay a lot of damage on Leona. Leona, of course, having to back away there. Right now, in terms of minions, Rice has the upper hand over Irelia. Of course, we expect this to happen since Rice has a rage. Another Zenith Blade coming from Leona and a follow-up stun. Not much damage landing though. Trish using his poison to really lower the life of VYY here on Tristana. 4 stacks, he has to be careful if he pops the contaminate. That will definitely increase the damage done to VYY here.
Ito pa isang mahirap for Team of Pacific in the bottom lane. Not only na nahihirapan sila dito when it comes to the poke damage, ang mahirap kasi dito sa bottom lane nila, they have Tristana and Leona. Kapag pumasok si Leona, hindi lang si Leona yung kailangan i-focus fire ng team ng Dethrone dito. They can also get VYY. Kung papansin mo ngayon, nahihirapan sila in the bottom lane. Both a champion have almost half nung kanilang mga HP dito against 2 champion in the bottom lane na hindi ganun umabot yung kanilang HP. Kasi kapag nag-i-initiate dito with the Zenith Blade itong si Leona, ang mangyayari, Twitch can choose kung sino ang titirahin niya dito or sino yung gagamitan niya ng i-poke niya against his opponent. So ang mangyayari dito, he somehow have the advantage against their opponent sa laban. But at this point of time, mga kaibigan, looking at the CS, pareho pala naman sila na CS nila. 17 versus 18. So hindi pa ganun na nakikita natin yung difference sa laning phase dito. So I think Jay, para sa'yo, ano yung dapat kunin nila? Or ano yung dapat kunin dito ni Tristana and the Twitch? Do you think much better kung both a champion dito will get the Blade of the Ruined King or Bloodthirster for their champions?
For Twitch, definitely expect to see another Blade of the Ruined King. But for Tristana, it's really hard to tell. Bloodthirster seems to be more effective still on Tristana since she has already increased attack speed and range on her Q. But for Twitch, it'll be really hard for him to use the Bloodthirster effectively, especially in team fights.
So ito na mga kaibigan, initiations from Wachi Fei in the bottom lane. Trying to get the life of one champion dito, but somehow nagkaroon tayo ng exhausted ngayon mga kaibigan. Si Leona dito, Leona goes ng first blood for team ng Dethrone, na good teleport from Oray patay dito sa laban nila. Daumington taking so much damage against 3 champion of Team Dethrone dito. A teleport na naman mga kaibigan, responde from the team members of Pacific. Da Vinci Code taking so much damage and he goes down with the skill of COT. Double kill for his champion, mga kaibigan. Morita Boy have to respond in the bottom lane, mga kaibigan. 3 champion against 2 champion of Team Dethrone dito. Rocket jump from Nesaju in the bottom lane. VYY have to initiate that team fight but have to disengage as well dahil medyo I don't think na ganun na magkakaroon ng damage output yung ginawa niya pag rocket jump doon.
So
Somehow, I think turned out very good for Team ng Pacific dito. It's a 2-1 score in favor of their team.
Yes, actually, at first it looked like Dethrone had the advantage. They're picking up 1 kill and no deaths. But that overextending and trying to chase more members of Pacific led to the downfall there since the teleport coming from the top lane. Of course, with 2 champions very low HP on the throne, easy pickup kills for Irelia and a good team play. None of the members of Pacific leaving their members out to die, making sure they can do everything they can to protect one. So they only lose 1 champion there. 2 for 1 in favor, of course, for Team Pacific so far. Alright, so it looks like Kale is be able to farm a few quite quietly there in the mid lane of Sig's ready, going back to base. Wukong will be covering the lane for the meantime. We just saw there Nocturne going back to base after picking up a few more minions. Already has his Magus Raider Bay and picking up a longsword and including some pots. On the top lane, Irelia now in the lead because of that last kill. He picked up a Vampiric Scepter, allowing him to sustain even better in lane. He looks like he's a little bit in trouble here, being chased by Kale and Rice.
Yes, wala siyang flash dito, mga kaibigan. Rune Prison from Awaray patay. One more hit, mga kaibigan. He was ignited the flash in from Kalabit Penge. And that pick up another kill for their team. It's a 2-2 score, mga kaibigan. And medyo, still, somehow, medyo worth it for their team. But,
I feel like
they
the
have
flash was
to,
a little bit unnecessary.
Yes, they have to, they were
pero
forced to use 2 flashes for 1 kill dito. But still,
better
1
safe
assist
than
and 1
sorry.
kill. Not bad for their team.
Yes, alright, so it looks like Morita Boy picking up, clearing out another pink ward for Team Pacific here. The bottom lane, in terms of push right now, Pacific is in the lead. You can see here that they're trying to shove the lane towards the tower of Team Dethrone. Dethrone, of course, will play a little bit more passive here, but definitely the Twitch is really strong in this patch.
Yes.
I feel like the changes they've done to him are actually pretty good, and including the visual upgrade makes him really looks much more swaggier.
Sa mga kaibigan, sa lahat ng mga nanonood ngayon, sa team ng Pacific, we have these SOAS para kay former MLE Astarte. So itong si Ziggs ay siya former MLE Astarte, and VYY itong si XNSJ or itong kanilang ADK na si Tistana ay si former MLE VYY. And if I'm not mistaken, ang pangalan dito ni Astarte ay DSOAS. These the 3 IGNs na ginamit niya before. Dynasty,
Yes.
yung I think it's
Solindra.
and ES Astarte.
That's
So
right.
DSOAS, magandang IGN, mga
Nice,
kaibigan.
trivia.
Or DSOAS, parang ganun. So eto, mga kaibigan, sa lahat na confused, former MLE Astarte ay itong mid laner nila ngayon na si Ziggs.
That's right. Alright, so it looks like, let's take a look, let's do our minion recap here right now. Right now on the top lane, Irelia is winning the minion count surprisingly over Rice. They're basically at the same position in, of course, Irelia has a 1 kill advantage over Rice. On the in the jungle, pretty even minions, 33 to 34. In the mid lane, we see Kyle has a slight advantage. Of course, the minion wave is pushing in Zig's favor, so this is really an advantage for Kale at the moment. Looking at the bottom lane, it's pretty even as well. So slight advantage to Pacific in the top lane and in the mid lane in terms of minions. I'm sorry. On the top lane is for Pacific, in the mid lane is for Team Dethrone. So more or less, I think everything pans out pretty evenly. The only advantage here is the first blood picked up by Irelia, giving them a slight lead there. But right now, I'm seeing the gold as actually an advantage of Team Dethrone. Probably the support, Janna, is using gold per minute rune, so that's giving them a slightly advantage in terms of gold in the bottom lane.
So ngayon, in the top lane, mga kaibigan, 58-42 ang ating CS, in favor pa rin kay Irelia. And napakalaking tulong sa kanya yung double kill kaya sa bottom lane. Medyo ang naging advantage lang niya dito ay nauna siya nauna si Rise na mag-teleport kagad.
Yes.
So etong si Irelia nag-responde lang after niya mag-recall sa base. So ito naging advantage niya kaya siya nakakuha ng double kill.
Yes.
Not only na buwas-buwas na yung buhay ng kanilang kalaban dito or ng team ng Dethrone, isa pa itong malaking tulong sa kanya ay siya na halos yung nag-last hit lahat ng mga kill dito for their team.
Actually, I think that was a slightly smart play coming from Irelia, not teleporting right away, assessing if her teleport would have been worth it. Because sometimes if you teleport right away, you might not end up doing anything since both teams will be threatened that they don't want to lose anybody, so they just back away.
Yes.
But Irelia allowed or basically baited the team, the Throne, to go all the way in. And once they were committed and they were really low, that's the time Irelia decided to join the party.
Ngayon, tuto ang ating score at ang ating goal difference ay around 400 in favor of team ng Dethrone pa rin at this point of time, mga kaibigan. But both champion at top lane have their teleport summoner spell na ngayon. So if ever na magkaroon ng teamfight in the bottom lane, most probably in the bottom lane. Kasi ganito naman lagi
Yes.
having the AD carries and your support champions dito, dun talaga dapat kayo mag-responde. See Yute have to get his Mercury Threads for his champion. Dapat tinunan ko rin yung item dito para ma-counter at least yung rune prison na magagaling dito kay Rise, and also yung disable or yung crowd control na magagaling sa team members of the Throne dito in the bottom lane or in any day sa mga teamfight na mangyayari mamaya. This point of time, mga kaibigan, 71-72 ang ating CS score na bottom lane, having Tristana against kay Twitch dito. So hindi natin nakikita yung difference nila being the AD carry and the support champion dito in the bottom lane.
Yes.
So even though they have the advantage, or even though Team Dethrone dito have the advantage in the bottom lane pagdating sa kanilang poke potential, sobrang play safe dito ng team ng Pacific. They're getting the CS they want, and as much as possible, walang engage na mangyayari from Leona dito para hindi sila mahirapan sa laban nila.
Yes. So Irelia here playing very safe here. Medyo feeling ko nararamdaman niya baka may jungler na nearby, that's why she's not being aggressive onto the Rise. Of course, she's already got a lot of items, allowing her to stay pretty well. Ayan, we just saw Twitch being very aggressive, landing, of course, his poison cast onto Tristana there. Leona will be joining him in the bottom lane. Here we see Ziggs continue to pick up CS here. Has still behind on kill by CS, but will be evening it out after clearing out that minion wave. Not much action right now, so both junglers are already past level 6, so they both have their ultimates up. Tingnan natin kung sinong unang mag-gank here. Probably, you can see here, Nocturne is already waiting here in the mid lane. No action yet.
Actually, for Nocturne dito sa laban nila in the mid lane, ang problema dito, they have Nocturne dito having the Rigorous Lantern. So, Rigorous Lantern, we all know na kailangan mong mag-ipon ng stack to have, or para mag-evolve to Feral Flare. Kung saan, doon mo makikita yung potential na yung champion being a jungler dito, yung burst damage, yung bonus damage na mangyayari sa yung champion, not only against your opponent na champion din, but also sa minion na magbibigay sa inyo ng advantage during the farming phase, mga kaibigan. Paranoia from Oraita Boy, initiated Sowa still in the mid lane. Somehow he have to disengage sa laban na yun.
Yes,
I think sobrang confident nila dito since they have that intervention from Kalabit Pahinge sa laban nila dito in the mid lane. So he can just initiate yung kanyang kalaban. And unfortunately, hindi siya ganoon naging effective. Medyo malalim pa dito si Daisowas in the mid lane. And he have to disengage sa nangyari pag paranoia kayo na ni Nocturne sa mid lane.
And that was definitely too early for Nocturne to dive in since hindi pa na-slow ni Kayle si Ziggs there. If he was able to let you slow and start being aggressive on Ziggs, I feel like they could have picked up a kill there. Right now, here in the top lane, we see Irelia will be pushing the raid onto Rise. Rise, of course, already has his ultimate, should be able to go toe-to-toe with Irelia now. But, of course, it's still very dangerous since, of course, Irelia also has a lot of sustain.
Initiation, mga kaibigan, from Dowmington. Napagandang combo with the use of that Cyclone. And Solar Flare as well, from watching pa in the bottom lane, he's taking so much damage. He was exhausted. And he goes down, mga kaibigan. 2 vs 2, champion in the bottom lane. Responde, mga kaibigan, from Oraita Boy. And somehow they have to disengage once again sa laban na to.
That was beautiful execution coming
from that team. From
Mm-hmm.
Dowmington. And I think this is the first dragon for their team.
That's right. Alright, so one kill pickup. Janna was able to walk away. Of course, Janna used her Moonsoon to try to save her teammate there, but of course the damage coming from the Wukong and Leona was just too much for the heal of Janna at this level. Janna doesn't have much AP yet at this level, so the heal isn't as effective as they would have wanted to be. Alright, so first dragon goes to Team Pacific, pushing their gold lead now to 600 gold. And a blue buff donation, of course, from Nocturne to Kayle. Kayle will definitely need this if he wants to win the lane against Ziggs. Right, so taking a look at Nocturne here, it looks like he already has completed his Wrangler's Lantern, and we'll be expecting to see, of course, a fair once he hits 30 large minions from the jungle. Although, if you notice, most people who pick this up, I don't know if they notice this, but the text on the Rigger's Lantern has not yet been updated. It still says 25 large minions, but actually, it really is 30 already at patch 4.6.
Yes, sobrang laki na, halos parang nerf talaga siya. Kasi dati having 25 large minions dito ay ma-upgrade mo na kaagad
Very
dito.
fast.
Feral Flare kung saan sobrang hirap niya mapigilan. And actually, talagang effective siya para sa mga champion like Master Yi, champions like si Nocturne, champions like si Shaco or Shaco. At that time, kapag nakuha ka ng Feral Flare dito, talagang mahihirapan ng yung kalaban na ma-counter yung champion dito, especially during the team fight.
Yes, actually, Spirit, to be honest with you, I really like those changes to Rigger's Lantern. I'm a jungler.
Mapapaisip ka talaga.
I play jungle a lot, and you know, for now, it really is my favorite item. Kasi a lot of the junglers I used to not be able to play, nagagamit ko na yun dahil sa attack speed tsaka damage, which is required by...
Mapapaisip ka kung ano kukunin mo. Kung makuha ka ba ng Spirit of the Elder item or get this Rigger's Lantern para sa yung champion. Pero I think itong item na to para sa mga champion talaga na assassin or champion
or attack base.
Attack base or attack speed champions dito mga kaibigan. Ito na gak na naman from Damington. Napilita mag-flash out si Oray patay but still hindi siya maka-disengage with the use of that cyclone coming from his champion dito. Somehow managed to get one more kill.
Another good coordinated fight coming from Team Pacific. A while ago we saw Nocturne try to do a gang in the mid lane. Here, another
initiation from Murayta Boy, mga kaibigan. Solar Flare, and they got one champion, mga kaibigan, in exchange of one champion as well. Dravichico taking so much damage against Wachipe. Wachipe hinahabol pa rin with the Monsoon coming from Synapse. And I think, humahabol si Siyute dito. Downington against Calabit Penge. Still, meron pa siyang intervention dito. So, if ever nagamitin niya to, a teleport once again from the team members of Dethrone trying to respond, mga kaibigan. Nagkaroon ng palitan dito. Synapse still having, taking a lot of damage against the team members of Pacific dito. I don't think he can disengage. It's a 2-for-1 exchange in favor. I mean, it's a 3-for-1 in total. Sa laban na to kanina.
Actually, a lot of action happening from all over. As you can see, all the champions were trying to rotate there, trying to pick up kills, and basically a lot of champions were caught out of position there, allowing them to pick up several kills on each side. Like you said, naging 3-for-1 in favor for Pacific. Pacific's rotations are slightly better than Team Dethrone at the moment. Let's see if Dethrone can do anything to get back into this game. They'll probably have to pick up a few objectives like towers and of course the dragon. Dragon advantage right now is the Team Pacific with one tower, one dragon rather right now. Quite surprisingly though, 17 minutes into the game, not a single turret destroyed yet. So pretty passive game in terms of push. Like you said, the junglers basically waited till level 6 till we saw any real action. Alright, so another pause from the game. So we're gonna have to see. Hopefully, we'll be able to resolve this. If those people are wondering there's no sound, let's see if we can resolve that while the game is paused.
So, Jay, gaya na sinabi mo kanina, nakikita natin na medyo nagkakaroon ng advantage dito ang team members of Pacific during the laning phase dito, especially sa mga teamfight na nangyari kanina. At mapapansin mo, Jay, na medyo pinipilit ng Team Dethrone dito na mauna sila sa mga teamfight kanina. They're trying to engage, they're trying to initiate the game or the team fight na mangyayari pa lamang. At somehow ang team ng Pacific dito ay rumiresponde lamang. Kung mapapansin mo, nauunang gumamit ng paranoia dito ang team ng Pacific, I mean ng Dethrone dito, they have to initiate in the bottom lane with a rocket jab coming from Tristana and protect from Leona dito in the bottom lane. They somehow managed to survive. I mean, they somehow managed to pick up another kill for their team. So it's a 1-1 exchange lamang. Still very good job for their team sa laban na to. And somehow nakikita natin ngayon in the top lane, nahihirapan si Ryze na mag-survive against kay Irelia dito. And yung teleport nila, it's about the timing eh. Kung sino mo na mag-teleport, kung sino yung mahuhuling mag-teleport, at kung sino yung may magandang spot na mag-teleportan dito, they have the advantage sa teamfight na pag-respondihan nila sa laban na to.
Yes, although, in my opinion right now, si Murayta Boy on Nocturne hasn't done really very well on his Nocturne. Lagi siya pumapasok masyadong maaga, and this is not allowing them to pick up any kills or getting 1-for-1 exchange.
I respond din mga kaibigan from the members of the Dethrone in the top lane dito. Respond from Damington, have to use that Cyclone. Murayta Boy taking so much damage pero they can't chase Siyute. Siyute goes down and one more champion mga kaibigan. I think Damington is about to go down sa laban na to kapag tumama ang Rune Prison dito ni Ryze, but they have to disengage thinking na merong team members from Pacific dito mag-respond as well in top lane.
Yes, alright, so it looks like the bottom lane is pretty much not gonna be joining the action there. A pickup coming from Team Dethrone there, a good response there. Of course, Nocturne was a little bit late. He almost actually went down there. Has to be a little bit more careful there. Of course, the response of Kale there was perfect, using of course intervention to save his teammate. Alright, so 2 members of Team Pacific in the mid lane. You can see here Ziggs being very, very aggressive, almost taking down Kale. Kale down to about 150 HP there. Will have to be very careful not to bump into any members of Team Pacific, or he might lose his life. Alright, so it looks like Wukong will be sticking around here in the mid lane with the help of Ziggs. They will probably be able to take down the tower.
Domington mga kaibigan, a lot of damage dito galing kay Morita Boy. Unti na lamang makuha nila ang first tier turret sa mid lane. And if ever nabakuha nila to, this is the first tier turret na makuha ng both, ng team ng Pacific sa laban na to. Take note mga kaibigan, Dethrone, somehow wala pa silang nakakuha ng turret sa laban na to. 18-minute mark na, magna 19 minute na tayo. At namamaga ang mid and bottom turret ng team Dethrone dito.
That's right. Actually, I'd like to mention that Ziggs, we haven't seen him very in a while. Since a lot of other mid laners have been showing up lately, but I'm really happy to see Ziggs, particularly the rubber ducky. We haven't seen really much action on that rubber ducky, but hopefully we'll see some really good plays coming out from Ziggs. Of course, we have Astarte, or former MLG Astarte, so let's see if he can pull out some magic moves on this Ziggs and give us a really good game on that day.
Yes, ito pa maganda kay Ziggs. Mapapansin mo, hindi siya ganoon na nagre-responde sa laban. Hindi siya ganoon na nakikita mo na pumupunta na ibang lanes para mag-responde dito in a team fight ang mga mangyayari dito. Ginagamit niya yung kanyang advantage, yung paggamit ng kanyang semi-global skill dito. Mga kaibigan, Domington taking so much damage against 3 champion of team members of Dethrone. He have this Cyclone, but he can't survive the team fight, mga kaibigan. A second dragon of this fight, spawn, and I think this will go to team ng Dethrone sa laban na to.
Yes, good play coming from Team Dethrone. Let's see if they can hold on to this.
Initiation mga kaibigan from Wachi Pei against 4th champion of Team Dethrone dito ni Saju. He can do anything, but with the use of his SS, he at least killed 1 champion. Pero eto na sinasabi natin mga kaibigan. He somehow managed to pick up 2 kills for the team members of Pacific.
And
Not
a
only
dragon.
That, isa pang dragon.
So yes, definitely a good play coming from Dethrone. Looks like Dethrone will be coming back into this game. Of course,
bumaba ng 500 yung kanilang goal difference sa isang team fight na nangyari dito.
That's right. That dragon and that kill, they had perfect timing in the dragon. They knew when the dragon was going to be up. They planned ahead. They were prepared to face whatever the Pacific threw at them, and luckily they
Aray ko
able to
po
pick
mga
up
kaibigan, Da
something here.
Vinci Code! Flash in from Nesadio dito! And a rocket jump as well! And they
Wow.
somehow managed to pick up another kill sa
Rocket
laban
jump,
niya.
flash, and all skills. So good job coming from VYY, picking up a kill. I almost thought it was going to turn around, but
Yes.
lucky for VYY, he was able to still pick up that kill without going down.
Alam mo, ang hirap na bottom lane na dito for the team of Dethrone. Having the Infinity Edge for Tristana and the Zeal as well. So if ever na kumuha siya dito, I think he will go for the Phantom Dancer.
Yes.
Most probably for Phantom Dancer, since meron pa siya isang pang item dito for attack speed. Against a Twitch, we all know na kailangan mo lang gawin dito ay may pagsabayan, or may pag-kite lamang against your opponent, and depende sa support mo kung paano ka mananalo against a Twitch. But they have Leona, they have champion na kayang mag-shove ng kanilang kalaban dito. So ito yung effectiveness niya during the team fight in the bottom lane. Kaya niyang pigilan si Twitch na i-focus si VYY dito.
Yes.
So mapipilitan siyang i-focus sa ibang champion. Mapipilitan siyang mag-disengage. Mapipilitan siyang lumayo bago umatake. While Tristana on the other hand, doing a free hit against his opponent. So ito maganda sa kanya.
Yes, I just like to point out Draven, on of course on Twitch here, did complete the Blade of the Ruined King already, but instead of going for the usual Yoshima's Ghost Blade, he decided to go for a BF Sword, probably for an Infinity Edge for a little bit more punch.
Sobrang, I think, he will go for Infinity Edge. Kasi minsan, ang mangyayari naman dito, depende sa kung ano yung, or kung magkano yung gold na nakuha mo kapag nag-recall ka dito, dun mo maiisip ko ano item mo kunin mo. Since I think, kanina nang umuwi siya, nakaabot siya ng around 1.5 or 1.6 gold dito. So, prefer niya kumuha na lang ng BF Sword instead of getting any other item for his champion. So, do you think it's a magandang idea ba itong pagkuha ng BF Sword or get any item for attack speed muna instead of getting this item?
Both of them have their pros and cons. The nice thing about the BF Sword is it allows him to pop his poison and deal a lot more damage because of the large attack damage given by the BF Sword. But in terms of team fight, I feel like the Yoshima's Ghost Blade provides more utility, more damage overall.
Ito na naman mga kaibigan, Solar Flare from Wachi Pei. And Da Vinci Code taking so much damage. He can use that invisible and he goes down mga kaibigan, exhausted. Si Domington dito, flash in mga, I mean rocket jump from Nisaju. And somehow they have to disengage once again sa laban na to. They pick up another kill mga kaibigan. Paranoia from Moraita Boy. Taking, see you, they take a lot of damage against two champions. From the team Dethrone, I think hindi siya makaka-disengage unless mag-flash in silang dalawa. And what they've said, two flash in from team ng Dethrone dito. He managed to pick up another kill for the team. Mga kaibigan, teleport from Rise, trying to respond to the bottom lane. Kalabit Penge against Nisaju dito, mga kaibigan. Half piece to rocket jab just this time. Mga kaibigan, Downington against Oharai patay. Two champion versus two champion dito in the bottom lane. Against Wachipe, Rune Prison, mga kaibigan. One champion goes down. 3-4-1 exchange in favor of the Dethrone.
Yes, and the first turret of the for the throne, of course, picking up the top tower. The jungler picking it up by himself with that large minion. Right teleport down the bottom was really good.
Yes,
He was able to
sobrang
slow down the push, although the
ganda ng
tower still went
pagteleport.
down. They were able to pick up several kills. As you can see here, it's now 10-9. A while ago, it was a 2-kill advantage for Team Pacific, but now it's just down to 1.
Ito ang maganda sa team ng Dethrone dito. They're not hesitating to do a play. Kung mapapansin mo, hinayaan niya si Moraita Boy na mag-push sa top lane dito and use the teleport in the bottom lane para mag-responde. That gave them the advantage. Not only securing the turret in the top lane dito, but also helping his comrades na magkaroon ng another kill for their team dito sa bottom lane. Kalabit Pahinge somehow managed to pick up a kill for against VYY dito.
Yes.
VYY goes down and Leona goes down as well. So, in total, yung nangyari teamfight kanina ay in favor of their team. At ang ating goal difference ay halos 100 to 200 na lamang sa mga pagkakataong ito.
Alright, so looks like Kale picking up the blue buff once for himself. A double buff now for Kale. Kale will be definitely a monster on those two items. Already completed Nashure's Tooth, and looks like he'll probably be building Lich Bane. Yes, a Lich Bane it is. Giving him a lot more burst at the same time. So, medyo nakakatakot na yung Kale at this point, no? Rabadons na lang siguro, and definitely the burst damage coming from K will be really hard to deal with.
Ito yung sinasabi ko Sir Jay kanina. When it comes to the late game, malaki yung advantage niya against any opponent na kaya mag-initiate sa kanya. Actually, every time na gagamitin niya yung kanyang
since auto-attack siya,
yes, every time na ayahampas niya yung kanyang E dito, that will be very much effective. Yung kanyang poke damage, yung kanyang burst damage against their opponent, hindi pa siya gano'n na mapapansin in the team fight. Kasi they have to focus on the other champion instead of getting kalabit Penge, mga kaibigan. Oharai patay. Hindi niya napansin dito na magre-respond din na in the top lane si Downington and he goes down. Sobrang daming skill ang ginamit dito ng Team Pacific. And I think it's about time to get the first tier turret in the top lane.
yes. Alright, so another tower for Team Pacific. This will be their 4th tower in the game. Ping is coming from Dethrone trying to defend. Two members of Team Dethrone trying to push the mid lane of Team Pacific. The last first tier turret for Team Pacific is standing in the mid lane.
If ever na makuha na Team Dethrone,
Second
it's going to
dragon.
be the second dragon
Yes.
for their team. 2-1 na ang dragon natin. Ang dragon score natin, 2 for Dethrone, 1 for Pacific.
Yes, that allows them to catch up again on gold. They're slightly behind in gold again. Irelia leading the gold, the CS right now in the top lane, while Zig has actually outfarmed already Kale so far this game. A while ago, Kale had a slight advantage in the farming, but Zig is really a monster in terms of CSing, especially once he has a few items. Alright, looks like another clash may be happening really soon here in the mid lane. 4 members of Team Pacific, or actually all 5 members of Team Pacific have gathered here. They want to push this tower. They want to end this game as soon as possible.
Yes. Jay, ano mapapansin mo? Bakit ganun? Lambang pa rin ng sobra sa gold difference ang team ng Pacific even though Team Dethrone got the two dragons. Simple lang ang logic, mga kaibigan. Lahat ng gak na nanggagaling from Team Pacific dito, ang dami nilang team member. Almost have around 4 members, mga kaibigan. Paranoia from Moraita Boy have to initiate this team fight. And they have to use that intervention as well. Ginamit na ngayon ang Magna Inferno Bomb coming from 6. At grabe palitan, mga kaibigan. Downington goes down. Nakuha ni Daisoa sa 1 champion for team members of Dethrone dito. Nisaju have to use that rocket jump para makapag-disengage. It's a 1-for-1 exchange, mga kaibigan. Still kalabit Pahinge. Chasing the champions of team members of Pacific dito. Rune Prison. Nakita natin, mga kaibigan. And he goes down. 1-1 exchange, mga kaibigan. Once again, 2-for-2 in total. Moraita Boy taking a lot of damage. Have to use that rocket jump from Nisaju. Kapag nag-reset ang kanyang rocket jump, yes, once again, he have to use that rocket jump. They're chasing Rise. And yes, in total, it's a 2-for-3 exchange in favor of team ng Pacific.
Yes, I really actually picked up that last kill coming from base, teleporting into that bush there. Of course, they have a ward there. Another tower pickup coming from Team Pacific. So good turnout for Team Pacific. In the end, They picked up
Kapag nag-set ang
kill
kanyang rocket
advantage.
jump, yes, once again, he have to use that
Teleport
rocket
coming from
jump. They're
Irelia.
chasing
Alright, so
Rise.
looking at the
And
team fight here, we
yes,
see
in
here
total, it's
Nocturne initiating into the team. Alright, so really sorry about that last replay here, and no, it looks like Tristana will be picking up the red buff for himself, and I feel like this one will probably group together and try to pick up the mid lane once again.
grabe yung palitan mga kaibigan. 14-11 ang ating score. So nangyari team fight kanina. Alam mo, ang isa pang nakita ko maganda dito sa team ng Pacific, nagawa nila ng paraan na ma-turn around yung team fight na yun. Even though team Dethrone initiated that team fight, mapapansin mo, Moraita Boy have to initiate that team fight kanina with the use of his paranoia. They have the intervention para mag-responde dito. They have the protect for Moraita Boy para masigurado nila na magsusurvive siya sa nangyaring yun. Unfortunately, hindi kagad nakapag-responde dito ang team ng Dethrone. Medyo malayo sila sa pag-initiate na ginawa kanina ni Moraita Boy. Still very effective for the team. Yun nga lang, medyo they're trying to focus the champions dito like Tristana na merong rocket jump. So ang nangyari kanina, kaya niya lang mag-disengage and then use yung mag-free hit dito against his opponent. At ayun yung ginagawa niya dito. Rocket jump pala yun, rocket jump pag-initiate dito. And very good job for VYY being a very dominant AD carry sa laban na to. Still, I think Dethrone can somehow win this game pa rin sa laban na to. Isang pagkakamali lang from team ng Pacific, kaya nilang bawiin yung lead nila ngayon sa gold.
Yes, actually the game is still pretty close. Of course, the map control advantage is in Team Pacific side, being 3 tower ahead in terms of tower downs ahead of Team Dethrone. I have to say, in that last team fight, I have to give props to Leona kasi hindi niya iniwan yung team niya at talagang she even stayed to die to make sure her 3 carries will not die anymore. And because of that, they were able to turn out the team fight around.
Sobrang laki ng tulong dito ni Leona when it comes to kiting. I mean, yung paggamit ng kanyang skills. So mga kaibigan, ito na naman si Moraita Boy. Have this paranoia, trying to initiate the team fight dito. Intervention has been popped up. Ginamit na ngayon mga kaibigan ang paranoia and cyclone as well. Solar Frontier Champion nakuha dito ng Team Dethrone. And I think it's a 2-for-1 exchange ng mga kaibigan. Kalabit Pahinge versus CUT. Have to use that Zonia's hardness dito. And yes, he goes down. It's a 2-for-2 exchange. They're trying to get the life of one champion dito. And somehow, I think, yung nangyaring team fight na yun in favor ng Team Pacific. As much as possible, they're trying to get the third tira dito sa mid lane. And even though it's a 2-for-2 exchange, napilitang mag-recall itong si Rise to regenerate yung HP na nawala sa kanya. Mga kaibigan, Team Pacific trying to get the third turret and they have to disengage sa laban na to.
Yeah, so the game really looks like in the favor of Team Pacific now since they picked up the first turret. 60+% of the games. Alright, so here's a replay of that last team fight as Team here Ziggs and Irelia are in the front, trying to poke down the members of Team Dethrone, waiting for the minions to come in. Suddenly, of course, Nocturne decides to dive in from the side here, using his paranoia.
He have to initiate dito sa laban na to. Unfortunately, napakagandang responde from Downington using that cyclone for his champion, and he somehow managed to knock up 3 champions for the team of Dethrone dito.
Yes, and alright, so here's basically the cleanup now. Kyle being left all around here, using the Zonia's that side to save life, but has nowhere to go. Easy pickup for Irelia. Of course, only 1 member left from a team. Dethrone still had a lot of HP. Could not do anything with those 3 members. Of course, Irelia would have easily dived in and allowed, of course, with the help of Ziggs, to pick up another kill. Alright, so it looks like Team Pacific are planning to either bait a Baron or try to pick up this Baron for themselves. Spotting out a ward there. A ward pickup coming from Team Pacific. Laying down, of course, a few more wards to protect themselves. They haven't actually spotted that ward there in that bush. No scanners or pink wards to spot that out, including inside the Baron. So I feel like the Baron might be a turnaround. It's either Pacific may win this game because of the Baron, or it might go in favor of the Throne if they choose to do it.
Alam mo, Jay, nahihirapan si Twitch dito makapagkaroon ng chance to do a free hit against your opponent. Kasi ang nangyayari dito, lahat ng skill na pang-protect from the team ng Dethrone, binibigay nila kay Moraita Boy. And that time, habang ginagawa nila yun, hindi nila napapansin na si Twitch ay hindi makakuha ng chance to do a free hit. Ginamit niya kanyang monsoon. Pero since napakalaki ng pader doon, hindi napalayo ng sobra dito si Irelia. And this is the chance of Team Pacific to get the first Baron of this game.
Yes, this is actually very dangerous now for Team Dethrone now. This 4v5 if ever they decide to join in.
They still have the paranoia from Moraita Boy dito mga kaibigan. Oray patay, have to use the teleport. Rabudaki dak mga kaibigan from Daiso was dito. Eno na naman ang paranoia from Moraita Boy. Have to initiate ni Saju. Ni Saju against 3 champion mga kaibigan from team ng Dethrone dito, and he goes down mga kaibigan. It's a 2-for-2 exchange. Tuloy-tuloy ang laban pa rin dito. Kalabit pahinga, still taking so much damage. Triple kill for VYY. Have to use that rocket jab. Oray patay, still chasing down the champion dito. Nagtatago sa bush, and one more stun mga kaibigan. He's about to kill, but yes, Isama managed to pick up another kill dito sa laban. It's a 4-for-3 exchange in total in favor of team ng Pacific.
Actually, even though Team Pacific won that team fight in terms of kills, I feel like it's still a win for Dethrone since they were able to stop Team Pacific from picking up the Baron. And if Pacific did pick up the Baron, not only would they get the gold advantage, but the regeneration coming into their members will give, of course, Jana a much more harder time to defend the base. Right?
Yes, looking at the replays kanina mga kaibigan, napilitan maggamit dito ng parang noise si Moraito Boy, and they have to initiate to kay VYY dito. Unfortunately, walang responde from Team Dethrone, and he was forced to initiate sobrang lalim sa laban nila. And as you can see mga kaibigan, dito sa bush na to, si Yutei against 3 champion ng Team Dethrone. So ganito ang palitan, 3 versus 3 champion against 1 champion.
Yes, actually the triple kill came from the splash damage coming from his E, blowing up that last champion. The splash damage, of course, Zig was able to lower the life, and actually Susana actually got lucky there, picking up that instant triple kill.
Yes, so far ngayon mga kaibigan, ng ating goal difference ay halos 3.2k na in favor of team ng Pacific dito. Habang tumatagal, mas tumalaki yung goal difference nila sa nangyayaring team fight.
Yes.
Halos lahat ng team fight dito, lamang sila lagi ng isang kill.
Another dragon for Team Dethrone here.
The third dragon
for
their
them.
team.
Yes, and fourth dragon in total in the game. Of course, Pacific are
Initiation mga kaibigan from Moraito Boy, have to go for Daiso was taking a lot of damage mga kaibigan with the rubber ducky duck. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to save himself. But CUT have to initiate against 4 champion of Team Dethrone dito. Napakagandang paggamit ng SS from next VYY. And they have to kill 1 champion mga kaibigan. Intervention. He was forced dito intervention. Moraito Boy against 1 champion mga kaibigan. Downington, jungler versus jungler. Moraito Boy mga kaibigan, 1 more hit from Downington. And I think
you might
if ever
get away.
nagamitin niya yung kanyang invisible dito, he can still chase Moraito Boy with the use of his first
Oh,
kill. A
that's
flash in and rocket jump from VYY.
A little bit too late.
Somehow, yeah, they pick up another kill for the team. It's a 2-for-1 exchange in total sa laban na to.
I have to say, VYY has been doing really well this game. Ang bilis ng kamay niya. Lagi siya nakakapasok at that instant, picking up a lot of kills for himself. Alright, so Baron is going down really quick right now for Team Pacific, even though there's only 2 members. Pretty impressive coming from Team Pacific. Jana trying to provide some distraction there, but of course, won't be able to do anything to stop that. Kale trying to push down the middle lane, will be able to pick up the second tier, third in the bottom lane.
Not bad trade for the team. At least, kahit nakita nila na nakuha yung Baron dito, they managed to get the second tier, third in the bottom lane.
Yes,
Very
I
good
agree
job for
with you. It's a smart decision
Yes.
because first of all, if they went for Baron, they could have lost that and lose the game. But instead, they gave up the Baron, pick up some objectives, and basically they're gonna defend in their base, try to wear out that Baron buff before hopefully they have to defend, of course, against the Baron team of Team Pacific. And if they do, they still have a chance of winning this game.
Alam mo, sa sandaling oras lang, yung kaninang 3k goal difference ay halos 1k na lang, around 1k na lang sa mga pagkakataong ito. Napakabilis ng pangyayari. Sobrang simpleng team fight lang, doon mo makikita kagad yung difference dito. Doon mo kagad makikita yung advantage ng bawat teams.
Yes. Looks like Twitch is in trouble right now. He's being chased by 3 members of Team Pacific. If he pops out before, oh no, he's in
No,
trouble.
mga kaibigan, ito na nangyari pa kanyang buhay na Saju was forced to use that normal hit to 1v1 duel sa ating mga AD carry.
1 for
And they
1.
somehow managed to kill themselves.
If you think about it, it's worth it since he was able to take out the Baron buff off of Tristana there, and both AD carries did go down. So hopefully, Dethrone will be able to pick up this turn. There we go. Doctor going for the third very aggressively. All members of a team, Dethrone getting hit by Zig's ultimate there. Mega Inferno Bomb, but not enough to stop them from picking up
Kung
the
medyo
third.
nauna lang ng konti si VYY dun sa pag-atake kanina, siguro makukuha niya yung buhay ni Da Vinci Code dito. Unfortunately, medyo nauna ng konti si Twitch, giving a lot of damage dito against kay VYY. And
Actually, that's a pretty good play coming from Draven. Da Vinci. He really was a dead rat anyway.
Actually,
at least he's able to pick up a kill before
yes.
going down.
So, ibis na siya lang mamatay dito, talagang ginawa niya na paraan para magkaroon ng trade sa laban. And ang ating score ay 33-19. Ang ating goal difference ay still around 1K pa rin. At ang ating third destroy, kung mapapansin nyo mga kaibigan, 7-4 na in favor of Team ng Pacific.
Yes. Alright, so back to square one basically for all the teams. Baron buff is still present, I believe, on Team Pacific, although it's burning down in time. I feel like they have to make a play now before that Baron buff runs out. Of course, Team Dethrone is doing a smart idea, the smart play right now, trying to clear out their own jungle creeps. Of course, they have to be a little bit careful since they're all separate. They can get picked off by the members of the Team Pacific here. Actually, looking at the team of Pacific, we only see actually Irelia with the Baron buff. The other two members were not alive, and the other one died already. So down to 2 Baron buffs left for Team Pacific.
You still have the teleport for a Rise dito, and somehow Team Pacific trying to push the mid inhibitor mga kaibigan.
Yes, a free inhibitor for Team Pacific. No one engaging from Team Dethrone. I'm surprised that they just allowed that. Since Kale was not yet ready to engage, actually I think that was actually a smart move coming from Dethrone. The inhibitor will respawn. They just basically buying time here, trying to get stronger. I just don't know if it is the best idea for them since late game, it could be really anybody's game, especially with the Tristana,
They have,
Irelia.
actually for the throne, they still have Rise, they still have Twitch, and they have Kale as well.
All of these
Very
actually scale
effective
really well
champions
at
in
the late game. Yes.
So, if ever naman patagal pa nila ng patagal na laban na to, they can manage to win this game. Pero ito na mga kaibigan, Pacific, not wasting any time, pushing the third set mga kaibigan. Ito na naman ang initiate from Muraita Boy. You have to use, wala pang intervention mga kaibigan, saying a cyclone just in time from Downington dito. And they're taking a lot of damage. Double kill for Kale. I think it's a turnaround for the team members of Pacific. They pick up 2 champions mga kaibigan. 4 champions. It's an ace for the team members of Pacific here. And I think it's about time to end this game.
Yes, I'm surprised he's still pushing. He can just go for the middle inhibitor. He pushed down the minions in the mid lane, but let's see. Actually, Irelia teleporting in to help with the push here. The minions will be there to defend the...
Hindi natin nakita, Jay. Nakita mo yung ginawa dito ni Downington with the initiation from that paranoia from Nocturne kanina. He somehow managed to use that knock-up skill para dito kay Kale. Unfortunately, Kale didn't have the chance to use that intervention to save Muraita Boy sa teammate na nangyari kanina.
Yes, alright, so congratulations to Team Pacific. Picking
Very
up
well
the victory. They will be heading off to face off MSI tomorrow in the best of 3. Alright, so and of course, I have to say props also to the Dethrone. They did a really good job that game. Of course,
this is not just a normal game mga kaibigan.
Yes.
Sobrang ganda ng laban na pinakita sa atin ng Team Dethrone at Team ng Pacific. Sobrang na-entertain ako. Very napakagandang laban
well, actually, yes. It's just really whoever came on top of the team fight. Luckily, of course, for Team Pacific, they were stronger at the end. They picked the right targets and they were able to win those team fights, allowing them to pick up the victory over Team Dethrone here. Slight, of course, you can see the scores here. It's 28 kills to 21. Not really that big of a gap. Even the goal was pretty much close to each other all throughout the game. Slight advantage, of course, to Team Pacific due to their tower push advantage. But in the end of the day, it was a really close fight.
Sobrang nakakatakot din talagang ginawa ni Tristana kanina or ni VYY.
Yes.
Dun sa huling team fight na yun. Was initiating and hindi siya talaga nagpapapigil dito. Talagang gagawin niya lang ay pumatay ng champion. With the support coming from their champions dito, like si Leona, the support coming from their champions dito, they have Wukong para mag-initiate with the knock-up damage from their team. And also, napapabayaan dito si Nisaju. I mean, napapabayaan si VYY na magkaroon ng chance to do a free hit against their opponent. And even though they have Kale, they have Nocturne, they have Rise as well, hindi sila nagkakaroon ng chance to do something like, alam nila kung sino yung focus nila eh. Hindi lang nila alam kung paano nila mapoprotektahan yung kanilang mga sarili. Ang mahirap dito kay Muraita Boy, hindi naman ganun kasama yung kanyang mga paranoia dito. Unfortunately, every time na nagparanoia siya, yung champions na yung pinapasukan niya, naiiba yung target dito ng Team Dethrone. So, like what I've said kanina, also yung protect skills ng team members of Dethrone, sa kanya lahat na bibigay. So, nahihirapan si Twitch dito na magkaroon ng chance to do a free hit to dominate the team fight.
That's right. And of course, well, actually, I'd have to say the MVP probably go to Tristana, picking up a lot of kills, those triple kills twice, even 8 at the end of the game. the scaled really well in the game. Of course, the early kills also in the start of the game really was helpful, especially for Tristana. So good job for Tristana for being probably the MVP for today's match against the Dethrone. And Pacific again, of course, congratulations. They'll be facing off with MSI in the next round tomorrow. Not yet sure of the time. We'll post that on later on. So stay tuned. Of course, our next match will be between Acclaim 2 versus Team Crying.
I think, can we get the replay of the last team fight kanina? Or hindi na? Ayan, unfortunately mga kaibigan, hindi natin pwedeng makita yung ating yung replay natin kanina sa laban or yung last clash natin. Abangan nyo na lang yung ating pag-upload ng ating replay for the game today. At ito na naman mga kaibigan, 6 PM, medyo nalate tayo ng konti, 6:30 na. Crying versus Team Acclaim 2. After a few minute break mga kaibigan, we'll be right back. Again, you're watching the Pro Gaming Series 2014 Summer Promotion. I am GG Sphere.
And I'm Jay.
We'll be right back mga kaibigan. Stay tuned lang kayo dyan.